All right. So with this one, when looking at something like that's so realistic and stuff, I like to really like focus on what we've talked about before, like making the guideline shapes and the ghost outline to really get those proportions right. Because when you're trying to like sort of oh my god, I can't talk, replicate, something like that. It's even so, it doesn't turn out exactly right, but it helps you. Like I had to make all of these, sort of shapes to kind of bring it together. Otherwise, if I just went straight in and tried to draw it like without doing that, it would have been a lot more difficult. So, with any realistic drawing, you want to really like sort of pay attention to what kind of shape like the head is, or like a certain part of the face or the body, and kind of break it down into more simpler things. And it just helps you visualize what you're trying to do more easily. So, next thing I want to do is I always like to start with the head. So, looking at the shape of this little puppy's head, it's kind of hard because it's not quite round because he's got this really cute face, like his mouth is all open and stuff. So, we're gonna just do this sort of oval part of his head right here, and then we're gonna add on to it. So, the very first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to sort of just very lightly figure out where I think his head is going to go. So I would say about right there. Easier said than done, but definitely sort of got a rough idea of where we want it to go. Kind of dark, but to do it lightly. So the next thing I wanted to do is try to get sort of the shape of his little mouth that's all open. So I don't know if you are already done yet, but I'm just going to ever so gently sort of draw out this. I don't even know what kind of shape to call it. It's like a pointy, upside down mountain at the bottom of his face here. So now we kind of want to get sort of a feel for how the body is going to be. So his body, if I look at his body, it's kind of this sort of, I guess you could say it's almost this rounded shape. So I'm going to go around, I'm just going to sort of draw out sort of this little puppy body here, just as this rounded shape that's coming out the bottom of our other two shapes very lightly, because again, we're going to be erasing our guidelines underneath once we get to that point. What we're gonna do is we're gonna just sort of use the shape we just made, kind of come down with sort of this paw line here. So this is just one of his legs coming down, just like that. And you want it to be about, so each leg is almost about the same length. Figure out where the other side of his leg is going to go, because it's kind of, we're drawing sort of that socket where the leg would go. So I just kind of draw a sort of half line like that. And then from that line, we can draw the other side of the leg, just like that. Next thing we want to do is, again, we're going to follow sort of that circle. And this time we're going to come around and sort of stop right there, because this leg is more towards is more like pushed back, so we don't want this leg to be quite as long. So it's just going to be a little bit shorter. It's only going to come so much far out from the circle that we drew. Draw out kind of this half circle to help us figure out where the end of that leg is going to be. So here we go, kind of. It's going to end about right there. We don't want them to be too far apart, but this part of the leg is super short. So just a little line. It's like you barely are coming off that circle that we made. just a little bit, like that. All right, perfect, perfect. Now, this is the interesting part, making his little paws. So I like to look at the shape of his foot. So he's got sort of this rounded sort of foot, and we can add on to his paws in a second and make his little toes. But right now, I just want to make the actual round part of his paws, and we'll add his toes in a second. So there is one rounded paw, and then we can add another rounded paw. There we go, just like that. So you can see how he's kind of got sort of this stance going on. Now we want to sort of get his toes in there. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to start to draw. His first little toe is going to be a teeny tiny little toe. It's just going to go like that. I hope I didn't go too fast for you. You just let me know when you're ready. Is we've got sort of his front legs there, we're going good. Now we want to get to sort of his back legs. All right, so his back legs are kind of sticking out from over here. And so I'm just going to start with the line that's coming out like this, just like that. I'm going to come around. I'm just going to draw the shape of his paw. That's sort of this, looks like this little boot coming off the side of his body here. His little paw all the way in the back. So now we're going to come around and do his other paw, which is going to be a little more outstretched. And it's going to be a little bit closer to his other foot here. So it's also going to be sort of that same little boot shape. How I want to do the little toes on this back foot is I'm just going to start from here, and I'm going to draw a little curved line like that. That's going to be one toe. And then once you do that, we're going to do another toe that's a little further back. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to sort of get the shape of our little puppy's, his like little muzzle and stuff. So what I want to do is I kind of want to draw out, we're going to do another ghost line here, another ghost shape, because this is sort of going to be where his big old nose is going to lie, right around here. It's just going to help us when we're trying to draw out the shape. And we can start to sort of draw out how his mouth is going to be. So what I want to do is I want to sort of start with the shape. It's going to be almost mimicking the shape that we did for the mouth. It's going to be this sort of big, open, round, cute little puppy mouth that's going to come around. So it goes almost all the way pretty much up to that guideline there. That's going to be the inside of his mouth. So this is going to be one side of his little puppy mouth right here. And then from that little corner is where we're going to take that other end like that. we can just come around here and sort of draw over to sort of show where that top part of his nose is going to be. So just a line, just following that, not all the way around. I'll just erase that so it doesn't look like it's going all the way around. Just enough so that he's kind of got his face going there. What I want to do is I'm going to take a line that's going to go up, not straight up, but sort of at this angle right here, sort of diagonally from where this part of his cheek is. So it's just going to sort of connect upwards like that. I want to sort of make this mushroom nose. Here we go. So what I'm doing is I'm just making this sort of S shape right here on one side. If you can see that it's literally like an S shape from the top of his nose like this, and this is going to be one of his little puppy nostrils. So and draw sort of the rest of his little mushroom nose like that. This one's going to be a little smaller because he's facing this way. You can only see a little bit of it. All right. So we've got the nose so far. Oh, and I don't want to forget, I always like putting that little line in the middle of his nose too, because all little puppies have sort of that little line at the bottom of their nose. Makes it look more like a puppy nose. It's a very, very cute nose. I want to do sort of the shape of the tongue. So I want to come around here. And he's got this really cute puppy tongue. Coming from here, we want to sort of draw out his other ear. So he's got sort of this floppy little triangular ear that sort of comes up like this. I definitely don't know what shape to describe that is, but it's a little, it's just basically just a floppy ear. That's all I can say about it. And then we'll just go ahead and I'm just going to connect his jaw to his face to make sure that that's all aligned. Now, this part of our guide circle is a little big, so I'm just going to round off his head right here like this, but I'm not going to connect it just yet. I'm going to draw, he's got sort of this little puppy smile. So I'm going to make that sort of sticking out from behind his muzzle, if you can sort of see what I did there. I know that was a little confusing, but just kind of so that it shows he's got his smile. Beautiful. And then from there, we're just going to draw his other ear that's sort of flopping down to the side here. So I think that is where we will stop for this week, but we've got a good outline for him and a good outline for next week as well.